Charlotte County is a coastal community with the Gulf of Mexico, Charlotte Harbor, and miles of canals. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Tracy with CCTV News You Can Use. Joining with us today is Donna Bailey, the floodplain coordinator for Charlotte County, and we're going to learn about the preliminary FEMA floodplain maps. Thank you for joining us today. What are these FEMA maps?
Well, these are the coastal risk maps. Back in 2012, after Hurricane Sandy hit, Congress tasked FEMA with updating all of the coastline of the entire United States. And this set of maps is our section of that update.
Now, why did they go and update these maps? Was it time? Is it something to do regularly, or what was the reasoning for it?
Well, again, it was in response to Hurricane Sandy. It was determined that the maps that were up in the Northeast were outdated. And Congress decided at that point that it would be smart to update the entire coastline. We do get map updates. Typically it's through a flood study update, but they tend to be sometimes decades apart.
And what changes are we seeing in Charlotte County with these updated maps?
Well, we are seeing areas that have better information as far as base flood elevations go. We are seeing a new flood zone that we previously did not have, and that is the Coastal A flood zone.
Okay. How does this affect the National Flood Insurance Plan?
Well, actually, it's strange that it doesn't. The National Flood Insurance Program has implemented a new type of rating for flood insurance, and it's through Risk Rating 2.0. And they will no longer look at the flood maps to use that as a determination of your total flood risk. They've actually developed a new methodology where they look at the distance from flood source. They look at the type of construction, the age of construction, and whether or not there have been previous flood claims.
So how is this going to affect our residents?
Well, it will affect them. For those that move out of the floodplain, they will have the option to carry flood insurance. For those that will move into a flood zone, if they have a federally backed loan, they will be required to buy flood insurance.
Okay. Now, are these maps available to the public online?
The preliminary ones are available to view online. In fact, we have a flood mapping application that will allow our citizens to look at a preliminary flood map versus the current flood map, okay, so they can see what those changes are.
Want to show me a little bit of that on the computer screen, sure, kind of what they'll be looking at?
Sure. Here we have the current flood maps on the right side of the screen versus the preliminary flood maps. That coastal A zone that I was telling you about, that's that black line. All of those parcels that are affected by that coastal A zone will now be required to build to the V zone, the higher regulatory standards. So that's a big change. And we're also changing our datum. Our flood elevations will migrate over to the North American Vertical Datum of 1988. Currently, we're on the National Geodetic Vertical Datum, and there is a difference between elevations. In Charlotte County, that difference is 1.15 feet. So here I will click on a parcel. And it brings up information. It shows that there's an elevation certificate available, and it shows that it is in the AE, which is the Special Flood Hazard Area, and that the base flood elevation is 8 feet. The preliminary maps will actually increase that to 9 feet over here. And again, it's not an apples to apples comparison because it's two different datums. So with NAVD datum, which is what this is, you would actually have to add 1.15 feet in order to make that comparison equal. So 9 feet is actually in the same datum as we are currently, would be 10.15 feet. So we do see with this lot an increase of 2 feet, a little over 2 feet. Those elevations are based on sea level. They're not above the ground. So it's assumed that the lot is somewhere probably 7 or 8 feet, maybe a little bit, well, it's between 7 and 8 feet in height, maybe a little bit lower. So when somebody builds in this area, they'll have to elevate it to a specific height. But this will also tell them what level of flood depth they could have on their property. And that is only if we have the 1% chance flood.
Okay. Now, is there going to be a cost increase or decrease to people for their flood insurance, and how are they rolling that out?
Well, there may be some increases. Again, they're no longer looking at the flood insurance rate maps to determine those rates. They're using a whole different methodology. So the citizens will want to contact their insurance agents to find out what those costs are, whether they increase or decrease. If they do have an increase, they are capped at 18%. So it'll never increase more than 18% annually.
Okay.
So they won't be hit with the, big amount right away.
So if someone's watching this and wants more information, they can go to our charlottecountyfl.gov website to get more information about this, and then you would recommend for them to talk to their insurance agent.
Yes, if they're interested in finding out what flood insurance costs changes will be, they should call their insurance agent. If they don't have an insurance agent, they can always go to floodsmart.gov.
Okay.
And there's a locator program that will help them locate an agent near them.
All right. Is there anything else you would like the residents to know about these changes?
Well, we've been keeping in touch with FEMA, and we expect these changes, we anticipate them to occur sometime around summer of 2022. It was unfortunately delayed because of the COVID, but they're back on track, and we expect these maps to become effective sometime about mid-year 2022.
All right. Well, thank you, Donna, for joining us.
I appreciate it.
If you'd like some more information, you can always go to our website at charlottecountyfl.gov. For CCTV News You Can Use, I'm Elizabeth Tracy.